I want to ask you just based on your hat, the Habs. What have you thought of the Habs start to the season so far?
Uh, as a Habs fan, well, we beat the two teams that we had to. Toronto, Ottawa, we'll take it. At least for up here in the north, feels good to take the wins against Toronto and Ottawa. But to be honest with you, I didn't know what to expect this season out of them. Young team, especially on the back end. I think they're the second youngest team in the league behind Buffalo now. Average age 26. Um, I like their pace of play. They look faster this year. But I don't know what to expect out of the 82 games. A lot of these kids, Lane Hudson, for example, comes out of college, not used to playing, 82 games. Like how he looked. He's gonna have those off nights, the -4 nights, obviously, but I've been happy with it. Montembeau's been looking good, still letting in too many pucks, which is good for the over. So, got to keep those guys on the radar for sure all season. But I'm hoping that they progress, right? I don't think they're going to be a playoff team. I would like to see them out of the bottom five. I know it's always good for draft picks, but I don't want that losing mentality creep in, while they're trying to go through a rebuild. I'd like to see them maybe move up to that bottom 10, maybe top 20, uh, just outside the playoffs, and then, grow from there, work on it for next season. But it's fun to watch. Like I go into every game not knowing what is going to happen. Like in past years, I'm like, okay, this team, it's a loss type of thing. And then, they seem to be competing under Marty St. Louis, and fun to watch. So we'll see
Uh,
how the rest of the year goes.
One guy I want to ask you about, heart and soul of that team, Nick Suzuki. 33 goals last year, comes up just shy of 80 points. Do you see him getting to that 40 goal mark this year, maybe next year?
Uh, I would love them to. Off to, I would say, a rough start. Like producing. I think he's 5 points in 6 games now. No goals, so held off. Don't get me wrong, Caulfield's off to a hot start, 6-6. But yeah, I'd like to see him progress into that 80, 90 point guy. I don't know if he's a 40 goal scorer. I'd love to see him in that 25 to 35 every year. And because he's setting up Suzuki, you have 40 to 50 assists. But he's a 200-foot guy as well. I think if, he maintains that 70, 80 a season and plays both ends of the rink, I think it's a win for the team. But I'd like to see a little bit more, maybe, I don't know if it's his game to be aggressive or anything, but a little bit more passion, I guess. This year I'm looking at the squad and what they're doing. I'm every night it's still Gallagher bringing it, and I'm like, Gallagher, like when is it gonna be the top line that is, driving this team into, the fight or into the game? So that's what I'd like to see more. But I'd love them to progress and, between this year and next year, get over that 80 and 90 points. I think Carey Price played for what, 13, 14 seasons with us and had one player with over 80 points, and that was Alex Kovalev in his rookie season. So, like, it's painful.
Nuts.
It's painful. Like, we got to get somebody over 80.
Yeah, I feel like Well, that's kind let's of been like the issue for the last, I don't know, 10 years or so is, they thought Pacioretty was going to be the guy that, obviously he had his injury issues. He had a couple good scoring years, but it just wasn't ever really enough. And I mean, there's a lot on Suzuki's shoulders. I mean, young captain of the Montreal Canadiens, and everyone's sort of looking at you as the guy in Montreal now. I mean, it's him
For
and
sure.
Caulfield, right?
Yeah, I think he carries that weight well. But it is a lot, right? And it has been for the last few years on him, Caulfield, now Slavakovsky, still 19 or 20, whatever he is. Obviously it hurt losing Line A, not that he was there last year, but boost the top six, take some pressure off, maybe the second power play or the first power play, like those guys. And more opportunity for points, obviously, as well. Uh, but I do like where they're headed, like with the youth and what they're bringing in. Like Demidov was a great pick. Nothing against Reinbacher, but would have loved Mitchkov the year before. Like, could you imagine Mitchkov and
Yeah.
Demidov and Line
Yeah.
next year? as
Yeah.
your second or first line, and you Caulfield, Suzuki, Slavakovsky. You still have Newhook, Doc if he plays 82.
Yeah.
Then you're starting to build like young depth that you could see. Okay, in 1 or 2 years, like this should be a playoff team.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we were talking about the 80-point guy, and I feel like everybody over the offseason was going gaga over this guy, but Slavkovsky, you got the big payday. People reporting he looks like an absolute mammoth in the gym. I mean, I watched the Pens Canadiens game. I think maybe it was a week and a half ago at this point, and I was dialed into that one, and a couple things stood out. One, Lane Hudson is like Allen Iverson on skates. It's crazy. But
Yeah, he looks
secondly,
good so far.
Slavkovsky is enormous. I mean, he's strong and he's only what, like 21 years old. What are
At
you
20, I
expecting
think
out of him?
he's a big boy. I think, to be honest with you, it was just announced today he's out for a week, upper body.
Oh, not that strong anymore. Sorry.
Nothing serious. But he's big, strong on the puck, and I think in the first year, um, he came in right away, which I don't know if was the smartest for the development or the best maybe, but also they had nobody else. So get him the reps. But he got knocked around, right? Like in the first year, got knocked around, came back from injury last year, started cold, but ended the season red hot. And even into this year, I think he was almost a point per game or one off that, which was awesome to see. And if he can continue that way and be strong on the puck, like he's amazing in front of the net, right? Like these, like the goalie can't see past him, which is a fantastic option. And now that you have Lane Hudson hopefully on power play number one soon, with Matheson out, um, like I just think the future is looking better and better, but nothing's for sure until it happens, right? At the end of the day, like I feel like I've been saying the Habs are 3 years away for 3 years.